Let us do the last unit in chapter 15, which is just a little bit on lassen, which is a special verb, which has some special meanings that we'll go over. So, of course, we will go over the sentences from the last exercises first. We want to translate these sentences with reflexive verbs, and we will notice whether it's accusative or dative in that reflexive. So, wie oft rasierst du dir die Beine? Which means, how often do you shave your legs? And then you see dir is the reflexive pronoun here, and it's in the dative. It's because a body part is being mentioned, die Beine, and that's actually in the accusative. So the reflexive then gets booted over to the dative. Yeah. Wir haben uns furchtbar erkältet, which means we caught a terrible cold. It's in the perfect, actually. We have caught terrible cold, or just we caught. Yeah. So furchtbar, I put terrible, could be a number of things, horrible, any of those things. Yeah, so uns is, of course, the reflexive pronoun there, and it's accusative. You couldn't really add anything to it because it already implies, we have the noun cold in English, but it's already implied within the verb itself. So that one wouldn't have like an alternative form. Wascht ihr euch die Hände vor dem Essen? Which is, do y'all wash your hands before eating? So die Hände is actually the direct object here. And so euch, you can't really, it looks the same as if it were accusative, like the dative and the accusative form look the same in this case. So it's not a big deal, but it is actually in the dative. And then morgens dusche ich mich is, of course, I shower in the mornings. Mich is in the accusative, reflexive pronoun in the accusative. Frau Meier, setzen Sie sich bitte. Mrs. Meyer, please sit down. It's like sit yourself down, but in English it sounds better without sit. Please sit down. Sit yourself down. Sounds a little, sit yourself down. Sounds a little rude, maybe? I'm not sure. But it just sounds just more normal without the yourself, right? So please sit down. And then sich is in the accusative. And you can see how it matches sie. The formal you, sie, has then sich, that special form in the reflexive. Meine Mutter ist ganz müde. My mother is very tired, entirely tired, super tired. Sie muss sich jetzt hinlegen. She must lie down now. So it's like she must lie herself down, but I think in English you can just say she must lie down, and that's fine. Yeah, so sich is in the accusative. Bevor du ins Bett gehst, musst du dir das Hemd und die Hose ausziehen. So before you go to bed, before you go to bed, you have to take off your shirt and pants. So, or you must, would also be fine. You must, or you have to take off from yourself the shirt and the pants, which you can then translate as take off your shirt and your pants, which is pants. So the dia is in the dative, but when we translate, we just have it be the possessive right here, your shirt. So we turn that definite article das and die, those sort of get converted over into the possessive, and that conveys the same idea. Ich kann mir einen Ferrari nicht leisten. Sich leisten means to be able to, or to afford, right? So sich leisten, you would find in the dictionary as to afford. So mir, it's actually sich leisten, and then the thing is, sich is both for accusative and dative, right? So when you see it in the dictionary, and you just see sich plus the infinitive, you don't know whether it's supposed to be dative or accusative just from that, right? So in the dictionary, if it's always one or the other, it'll like say it, it'll put it there as well. Like with the sich vorstellen, which can mean either to introduce or to imagine, it makes a difference. But with this one, we can tell that it has to be dative because we have another direct object, einen Ferrari. So I can't afford a Ferrari. Mia is in the dative because Ferrari is the direct object. It's in the accusative. So that reflexive pronoun has to be in the dative because of that. So you see how sich leisten means to afford, and there's no way to shoehorn in reflexive into the translation. I can't afford a Ferrari for myself, I guess, but it's really not necessary. So don't worry about putting it into the translation when the idea is already there without it. Yeah. Wir freuen uns sehr auf die Ferien, which is we're looking forward to the break or the vacation. Yeah. So sich freuen auf is just one we had, which means to look forward to. Sich freuen auf, to look forward to. And it's just its own verb situation, and that's so we don't have to try to like put the reflexive in there. We just learn that that whole phrase, sich freuen auf, can be translated as look forward to. Meine Schwester interessiert sich für Politik. My sister is very interested in politics, or my sister is interested in politics. So that's the same thing where we learn that sich interessieren für is just a whole phrase that means to be interested in, and we don't have to really translate the sich as a reflexive per se. And then we have a little dialogue. I translated this little introduction as well. So Ingo wohnt in einer Wohngemeinschaft mit 5 anderen Studenten. Ingo lives in a shared apartment. Wohngemeinschaft is kind of a specific cultural phenomenon. It's hard to translate. And so I just call it, it's a large apartment that college students share. And it's not a dorm, but it's like the next thing after the dorm. But it's it's pretty common for German students to live in a Wohngemeinschaft. So it's just a large shared apartment. Everybody has a room, communal living situation is sometimes what it's called. So you get the idea, with 5 other students. Ist gerade aufgestanden, so he just got up. It's a nice perfect with is there. And then, und ist jetzt im Badezimmer and is in the bathroom now. Holger wohnt auch in der Wohngemeinschaft und möchte auch ins Badezimmer. Holger also lives in the apartment and would also like to go into the bathroom. Yeah, so you'll see how the gehen has been omitted because it's implied. He would also like into the bathroom to go, implied. Yeah. So Holger says, Ingo, bist du es? Which means, Ingo, is that you? Or are you it? Is that you? And then Ingo says, ja, maybe the easiest translation of the whole term. Ja means yes. And then, kannst du dich beeilen? Ich muss mich rasieren. Can you hurry? I have to shave. So, kannst du dich beeilen? Can you hurry? There's a reflexive there, but you don't have to put it in the translation. It sounds better without it. And then, ich muss mich rasieren. I have to shave. So there's also one there. I have to shave myself. And I have to shave myself is fine if you put myself, but it sounds a little bit too much like a translation. I think I have to shave just is how an English speaker would say it, right? Du, zieh dich erstmal an, which is, hey, get dressed first. Ich habe mich gerade geduscht. I just showered. So you could say I just showered myself, but I think an English speaker wouldn't really do that. They would just say I just showered. Ich muss mich noch abtrocknen. I still have to dry off. I still have to dry myself off. That one sounds a little better. I still have to dry myself off. So with or without, I think that one is pretty equally good. And then, ich habe mich schon angezogen. So it's like, ich habe mich schon angezogen. I already got dressed. I did already get dressed. Yeah. Ich muss mich schnell waschen. I have to wash myself, or I have to wash up. I have to wash. I think wash up is pretty good. I have to wash myself. Then ich muss in die Stadt because I have to go into the city. Ich muss in die Stadt, so it's implied I must go into the city. And then Ingo says, gut, ich bin gleich fertig. Fine, I'll be done in just a second. Gleich, like right now. I'll be done right now in just a second. Yeah. Okay, so then we have another dialogue. Barbara spricht mit ihrem Professor in seiner Sprechstunde, which is then Barbara is speaking with her professor in his office hour. Professor says, Guten Tag, Frau Müller. Setzen Sie sich. Was kann ich für Sie tun? Hello, Miss Müller. Sit down. So setzen Sie sich is like sit yourself down. Sit yourself. But of course, we're not going to really translate that. When we go to the English, we're just going to leave it out. You could say sit down or have a seat. Take a seat. What can I do for you? Was kann ich für Sie tun? Very similar to English. What can I for you do? And Barbara says, ich habe mich für das Examen im Dezember angemeldet und ich habe einige Fragen. I registered for the exam in December and I have some questions. So, ich habe mich angemeldet. So, It's sich anmelden is the verb we're dealing with here. So this is a past participle, so that's why the ge is there. But the verb in its dictionary form is going to be anmeld, and then we'll unconjugate, so anmelden. And then it's also reflexive. It's like I registered myself, or one way to say it is I signed myself up for. So then it would sound quite good as a reflexive in English. I signed myself up for, or I registered for. The examen, you might notice there's several words for examen, or for exam or test. So examen is typically like a test at the end of a bunch of different stuff, not just a regular test, but like at the end of a whole course of study. Yeah. But Prüfung is like the standard word for tests. So this exam is fine. And I have some questions. Dezember, das überlegen wir uns besser. So here we're dealing with sich überlegen. So because it's wir, we make uns. But if you found this in the dictionary, it would be sich überlegen, which would be to consider. And the reason besser, I sort of translated as reconsider. It's like, let's consider that better. So I said reconsider sounded like a good translation. Let's reconsider that, or let's think about it in a better way. Warum beeilen Sie sich so? Why are you hurrying so much? So, sich beeilen, to hurry. Ist das nicht etwas früh? Isn't that a bit early? Is that not somewhat early? And then Barbara says, ich glaube nicht, I don't think so, or I don't believe so. Ich habe mich schon für meine Schwerpunkte entschieden. I've already decided on the main topics. So mich entschieden, habe mich entschieden is the perfect, and the dictionary form would be sich entscheiden, to decide for oneself, right? So yeah, so you notice this is actually a past participle here. This is in the perfect. Habe mich entschieden. I've already decided. So it's very easy to be confused by this very subtle vowel change. So sich entscheiden, I with the EI, like Einstein, that is then the infinitive, to decide. But now, since it's E and not I, E, that is going to be the past participle instead. So if you don't watch out for that vowel change, you might be led to believe that it's you wouldn't recognize it as a past participle. It wouldn't look like a vowel change, but it is a vowel change. I've already decided the main topics, and then ja, wenn Sie meinen, yes, if you think so. Yes, if you think so. Mine, just what your opinion is, what you think so. Aber ich rate Ihnen, but I advise you, konzentrieren Sie sich auf das Wichtigste, ja? Concentrate on what's important, won't you? Concentrate on what's most important. Das Wichtigste, the most important. So, konzentrieren Sie sich. So to concentrate is always reflexive, even though it wouldn't be in English. So you just say concentrate on, but in German it would be concentrate yourself on. But we don't need to say that. We just say concentrate on. And then Barbara says, ja, natürlich, ich freue mich eigentlich schon auf das Examen. She says, yes, of course. I'm actually looking forward to the exam already. Ich freue mich auf, I am looking forward to. It's just the whole set phrase, right? Okay, so now we have lassen. We'll do a few things with the very versatile verb lassen. So lassen, it shows the simple past, which is ließ, and then the past participle, which is gelassen, and then the present tense stem vowel change, lässt. So it's irregular. There's some, this is like what you would find in the back of your dictionary. Simple past, past participle to make the perfect, and then of course the present tense like he, she, it, lets. That would be lässt. It has a variety of uses, mostly in connection with other verbs, and can be translated as to let, to allow, to leave, to cause, or arrange for something. Yeah. So, man lässt die Suppe 60 Minuten kochen. You let the soup cook for 60 minutes. So you can see how we've got two verbs. We're doing lässt, and that's let, And then kochen comes at the end of the sentence, and it's cooked. So you let it cook. Lässt kochen. So you can use it in that way with another infinitive to say let something happen, right? And then lassen Sie den Koch in die Küche. Let the cook into the kitchen. So in this case, we don't have another verb. You could say it's implied, like let the cook come into the kitchen, and that would be lassen Sie den Koch in die Küche kommen. You could put kommen at the end, but it's implied. So because there's this like directional thing into the kitchen, so that's why it doesn't necessarily have to be there. Let the cook into the kitchen. You can see how it also means like allow the cook into the kitchen. Similar idea. Das Rezept ließ in seinem Auto liegen und jetzt lässt es aus dem Auto holen. So this is the simple past, ließ, like they list here. So what's happening here, is actually the subject. He left the recipe lying in his car. So this is a pretty common way to use lassen is to say lassen plus liegen means you left it sitting somewhere, or you left it lying somewhere. I feel like in English we say I left it sitting there, yeah. Or you left it there, but it is also the same idea. So he left the recipe lying in his car. And then jetzt lässt es aus dem Auto holen. Now he is having it fetched from the car, having it grabbed from the car, having it picked up out of the car. Yeah. So you see this slightly different meaning, right? So we're having lassen plus liegen is he left it there. And then lassen plus most other verbs means he's having it done by someone else. So we'll have more examples of that in a moment. And then when we have sich lassen without an object, it can be a substitute for the passive voice. So for example, das lässt sich machen, that can be done. And das kann gemacht werden is just the regular passive. That's like the actual passive. But then das lässt sich machen is another way to express the same idea, and it's more literally it's this lets itself be done. It lets itself be done, meaning it can be done. And then das neue Computerprogramm lässt sich leicht lernen. The new computer program can be learned easily, is easy to learn. So if we want to do a super literal translation just to see what's going on here, the new computer program lets itself learn easily. So can be learned easily is how you would translate it into nice English. So lets itself, lässt sich. And then das Verfahren ließ sich wiederholen, which is the process could be repeated, or we were able to repeat the process. Literally, it means the process allowed itself to repeat, or the process let itself repeat, which is could be repeated. So substitute for a passive. Yeah. And then we have sich lassen with an object means to cause to have something done by someone for oneself. So this is maybe the most common way lassen is used. Der Pfarrer lässt sich ein neues Haus bauen. The pastor is having a new house built, right? So it's when you hire someone else to do it, you're having it done. So that to make that you say lassen, sich lassen with a reflexive, and then the infinitive at the end. So he lets himself a new house build, as in he's having it built. Die Gemeinde wird sich nächstes Jahr uns eine neue Kirche bauen lassen. So the congregation, a Gemeinde is like community or congregation, yeah. Will get a new church build this year. So get is it's like will have a new church built, or will let a new church build. So of course that one doesn't make sense, but you get the idea. So this is the future, wird, and then we would normally have this infinitive at the end, which we do here as well, but we haven't even done the lassen yet because the wird took up that second position because we added in a new verb element with the future tense. So since we used our second position for the wird to make the future, that means we still have to do lassen at the end. So these are double infinitives. These are, we'll have more practice with these double infinitives, so don't worry about it too much yet, because that we'll have more on that. So some other common ways to use lassen I just wanted to put in here, because these are ones you'll hear all the time. Ich lasse mir die Haare schneiden, which is I'm getting my hair cut. I'm having my hair cut. So this is the same as sich lassen. It's basically the same as this last slide, where it's like to have something done for oneself. So we've got a reflexive plus lassen plus another infinitive. So lassen, reflexive, and another infinitive. So ich lasse mir die Haare schneiden, which is lassen plus reflexive plus another infinitive, which is I'm getting my hair cut, I'm having my hair cut. In a literal sense is I'm letting my hair be cut. So lasse is of course let or allow, and then schneiden means to cut. And so this is always the question, is someone says, did you cut your hair? And you say, no, I had it cut by the stylist. So there's a difference in meaning there. And in German, there's more of in English we sort of do whichever. You say, oh, I cut my hair, and you might mean that you went to the salon. It doesn't really emphasize that you necessarily did it yourself, right? But in German, ich lasse mir die Haare schneiden is really the way to say it. And if you say, ich schneide meine Haare, then it really sounds like you did it yourself. So there's more of a obligation to say it this way if you had it done by someone else. Yeah. And then, of course, you want to know how to say that in the past, because people are going to ask you if you got your hair cut, and you have to say, yes, I got my hair cut. So, ich habe mir die Haare schneiden lassen, which is in the perfect, I got my hair cut, or I had my hair cut. And then in the super literal sense, it would be, I let my hair be cut, I allowed my hair to be cut. So you just notice that habe is here, matching the ich, and then you just have the double infinitive at the end. Schneiden, lassen. So basically, lassen is no longer in its normal position because we've replaced it with hab. We need haben here because we're making the perfect. So we got to put lassen somewhere to keep that meaning. So it gets kicked all the way to the end, and it's in the infinitive now. So I got my hair cut. Ich habe mir die Haare schneiden lassen. Another one very common is sie lässt sich. Oh, and we're going to do it just with another person, just to show you the how it changes based on ich lasse mir, ich lasse versus sie lässt sich. So you have to change both the verb conjugation ich lasse, and also the reflexive pronoun has to change based on who you're conjugating it for too, right? So sie lässt sich versus ich lasse mir. It's very different. Sie lässt sich die Haare schneiden. She's getting her haircut. She's having her haircut, or she's letting her hair be cut. And then in the perfect, sie hat sich die Haare schneiden lassen. She got her haircut. She had a haircut. She allowed her hair to be cut. Now there's another very common one that is wir lassen uns scheiden. Notice that schneiden. Here we're doing schneiden. Schneiden means to cut. But scheiden, the missing N, is a different verb. No N there. Scheiden means get divorced. So we're having ourselves be, it could be, because scheiden actually means to divide or separate. So when you combine scheiden with lassen, it actually means get divorced. So we're getting divorced is wir lassen uns scheiden. It's really like we're having ourselves be separated by the lawyer, you could say. The lawyer is actually doing the action and we're just getting it done for us, right? So wir lassen uns scheiden, we're getting divorced. And then the perfect, wir haben uns scheiden lassen, which is we got divorced, we had ourselves separated by the lawyer. Yeah, wir haben uns scheiden lassen. And just to compare, to give you how to make those in the simple past, if you want to, you could say wir ließen uns scheiden, we got divorced in the simple past, or ich ließ mir die Haare schneiden, just so you recognize the ließ, because that's the simple past, and it looks so different from lassen, the infinitive lassen and ließ, they look so different from each other. So if you haven't If you haven't heard lease before, and if you don't remember what lease is, it can be tricky. So just to make sure you recognize lease as the simple past of lassen. But this would, because the simple past in most verbs, besides haben and sein in the modal verbs, and maybe finden, most verbs sound stilted to use in the simple past in regular conversation. So of course we'll find them in writing everywhere. But just so you know, wir haben uns scheiden lassen is much more natural in conversation than wir ließen uns scheiden. This sounds a little bit like a novel. And this sounds like a real conversation. Wir haben uns scheiden lassen. Okay, so then we have the homework for the end of this chapter. We've got to the end of chapter 15 already, making progress. So then you just got some vocab to help you out and some Übungssätze and then some more texts to translate. So viel Glück, lots of luck with those und wir sehen uns im nächsten Kapitel. Tschüss, auf Wiedersehen.